Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Yoshi, what is it, boy? Mario's trapped in the well? Oh, we gotta go save him! It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with ya. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. I'm going to do this. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch OLED Edition, and we are going to be determining the 10 best Nintendo animal companions. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Patrick, you and I are known to, we've seen a Marvel movie or two in our lives.
Yes.
And this is our last time before we're going to go see Black Widow to check in with each other.
That's right.
And say, Patrick.
Yes.
What is your hype level for Black Widow? How are you feeling?
And so when I return this question to you, I have to also say Patrick.
You can freestyle.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I would say I'm sort of living in like a loosey-goosey, like I don't know that I am not currently in a like body hype mode for it.
You're sleeping fine. You don't have heart palpitations.
I do not. I mean, look, Sarah and I are flying out the next morning. And you know, there was a second where she was like, "Is that going to be okay?" Because I remember going to see Endgame in the theater and then not being able to sleep, for we were too excited.
I had a similar experience when we saw Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
I was flying out the next morning and I wasn't able to sleep, but for other reasons.
Right, suicidal ideation. So I mean, I don't know. In the post Endgame landscape, I feel like there's this sort of like swimming in like a mediocrity. Not to say that I disliked, I liked WandaVision. I'm sort of lukewarm on Falcon and Winter Soldier, and like Loki to this point has only like middlingly impressed me. So like I'm just sort of grooving on it right now. I'm not like, it doesn't feel like a make or break kind of thing for me. Mark, how are you? Where's your hype?
Same place. I feel blissfully free from hype. So it's just like, yeah, if this movie's good, great. If this movie's bad, fine.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, you know, Marvel has developed this really high floor where like even the things where you're like, that's a pretty bad Marvel movie, I'm like, I probably still sort of have fun, right? Like I still have fun a little bit with Doctor Strange.
Right.
Or I was going to say Thor 2, but I don't think I actually do have fun with Thor 2.
Thor, yeah, maybe not.
Speaking of things you may or may not have fun with, my copy of Sonic Forces, you can borrow it. It's my copy of the game for the Nintendo Switch, the actual cartridge that I played. Actually, that's not true because that one got lost, so it's a different cartridge that is filling in for that cartridge. It remains a perfect borrowing program. All you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address so we can send you my copy of this game. You can play it for as long as you want. One thing that might happen to you, unfortunately or fortunately, is that a copy of Untitled Goose Game might be in there. There's no planning for it. There's no planning around it. It's just something that might happen. So I already said you can't be prepared, but be prepared.
Another thing you can do is leave us a 5-star review on the US Apple Podcast Store or wherever you get your podcasts. We've been on a little run of disparaging the Apple Podcast Store.
I have. It's true.
But that's still where we're checking. We appreciate it a lot. It helps people find the show, and it counts as your good deed for the day if you do it, and it will shout you out on the show. So if you have been dying to hear your name or your screen name said by Patrick and my dulcet tones, that can happen very easily.
Yeah, and if you're reviewing us or favoriting us or following us anywhere else, email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. Let us know, and we will also shout you out on the show.
Maybe we end up really, really disliking Black Widow, and you need to pull us back from the brink.
Oh my
God.
God.
A 5-star review could be a way to do it.
Or maybe we love Black Widow, and we forever want to live in the world of high espionage.
That's
and
right.
You need to pull us back to reality by being like, no, you have important podcast work to do here.
This is going to be a problem when Avatar 2 comes out. We're going to want to live in Pandora. We're going to need
So
people.
soon, 2022, Mark. We discovered this over the weekend when we were inexplicably talking about Avatar 2. It's closer than you think. All right. Speaking of closer than you think, Mark, let's start off this episode. I'm going to play some transition music, and then you and I are going to talk about the new model of Switch that Nintendo revealed earlier this week. Nintendo Switch OLED edition version. What is it?
Model. Can't you see it smizing in those
Oh my gosh.
photos?
Yes, that was a good joke. I'm sorry. I was already I was laughing at my mistake, and so I couldn't like roll it into a new laugh. But I liked your joke. Yeah. So this thing was revealed on Tuesday. It is a $349.99 new model of the Nintendo Switch, which bears a lot of the rumored features, but with none of the power or computing upgrades.
Yeah, this was a really weird thing to wake up to. We recorded on Monday night. Early Tuesday morning, I wake up from texts from like you, some other friends, and uh instead of I didn't feel anything.
Yes.
Like it was I think because we had so many there a Switch revision has been rumored in some form or another since 2018. We did an entire episode in 2018 about what the Switch revision could be. And in the past like few weeks, it really came to a fevered pitch right before E3. And Bloomberg, like reputable sources like Bloomberg and stuff, they delineated what this model was going to include. And what it actually includes is, like you were saying, entirely spot on with one major thing that was like rumored omitted, which is like 4K, chips that are capable of running games at like 4K, just basically
is
a more
it
powerful
DLSS?
system.
The graphical like upgrading quality. Yeah, and like that's and then of course like none of the unnamed like technical spec wish list stuff is included in here either. I'm still gonna have to wait for another revision for my Bluetooth capabilities. But so let's just like lay out what actually this thing is. So it does have the 7-inch OLED screen, which is 0.8 inches bigger than the current model Switch's screen, which doesn't sound like a lot less than an inch, but like that diagonal length, like you feel
The
that
bezels
difference.
are a lot thinner.
Also, an OLED screen is going to be a lot like brighter, more like dynamic screen display. There's an adjustable stand that is as wide as the system itself. So instead of that tiny little kickstand, it's seems to be a thing that will like have some sort of versatility to it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the one on the Microsoft Surface.
Yeah,
how
totally.
you can really it's really sturdy, and then there's a lot of different angles you can choose from.
There is a built-in wired LAN port for the dock, so no more using the little dongle that you purchased
For like Ethernet, yeah.
for Ethernet. It comes with 64 gigs of internal storage and enhanced audio in the speakers.
So 64 is double what
Yep.
the current base model includes. And it's a
yeah.
little bit like bigger, but the Joy-Con are the same,
Yes.
and the new dock that is included will work with your old Switch. So it's not like it and apparently Nintendo's going to be selling it separately. So if you want
that's
like
kinda
the
nice.
built-in Ethernet
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, and also it comes with white, or a model of it comes with white Joy-Con, and
Right,
it is slick looking.
and a white dock
Oof,
too.
yeah.
Which is also slick looking. And it's coming out on October 8th, which is the same day as Metroid Dread.
Is the white dock, is that exclusive to the white
Yes.
Joy-Con? Oh, I thought that was just the new dock.
No,
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, or I don't believe so.
I think you're probably right.
We're early days here.
Yeah.
Look, like we're gonna get some facts wrong probably. But so it coming out the same day as Metroid Dread means that the sort of like black and white like high contrast summons the like image of the Emmy, the like very Apple looking robot that's chasing Samus around.
Yeah, I also feel like one thing that really struck me in that first trailer for Metroid Dread is when you first see Samus's suit, and it is like the white variant of it.
Yes.
And so yeah, like that like white and black like contrast seems like a big part of that game.
Yeah, so I mean like that is it's a cool like variant on the Switch. But I mean, like as you were saying, like I don't know that this is enough to really like. This doesn't feel like a Switch that you upgrade to. It feels more like if you needed to buy a new Switch, either because you didn't have one in the first place, or because a Switch broke or whatever, or you just needed a second one for your household. That this would be a good option.
Yeah, I completely think so. Um, so it yeah, it's interesting because this is kind of
Oh, sorry,
following
taking a drink.
i- in a way, yeah. He actually is in this case. It's in a way it's following the same model that we saw with the 3DS, right? Where you
Yeah,
had the regular size 3DS, you had the 2DS, which in the Switch equivalent is the Switch Lite, and then you have the 3DS XL. And this kind of fits the 3DS XL place,
yeah,
except, with the 3DS XL, the screen was significantly larger. That top screen was significantly larger than the regular 3DS. And, having not seen the screen in person, and so it could very well be incredibly dynamic in comparison to the screen that's currently on the Switch. But the difference, just by looking at it, I don't feel like just looking at comparison shots,
yeah.
it isn't enough of a differentiator for me that like the XL was.
Well, and I mean, both you and I play the Switch a lot docked,
Hmm.
right? Like, not that we don't play it, sometimes in handheld mode. But like, I would say handheld mode is probably like 10% versus the 90% that I play docked, and then virtually 0% playing in tabletop mode. Which most of the improvements here seem to be for the tabletop mode, right? Like it's got so the OLED screen, which is bigger, the stand, which allows you to you're only going to use that in tabletop mode, and then the improved speakers is another thing where it's like you're playing it in a setting where multiple people are crowding around it. That's not going to matter as much if you are holding the thing, and possibly wearing headphones with it.
Yeah, I do think so. When the iPhone 6 came out and it had like a larger screen,
Yeah,
I was upgrading from an iPhone 4S, and so it was like significantly smaller. But you were just so used to using it that like it was like, yeah, whatever. This is just my phone. Then when I got a 6, it was like, how was I ever using the
right,
4S? And
right.
so I wonder if it would be a similar thing getting like the Switch OLED, assuming that the screen really is like that much more dynamic, where it's like looking at it, you're like, well, I'm fine with the one I have. But once you got the
Yeah,
OLED, you're like, whoa, this is like a much better experience for $50 more. Which goes to your point where it's like, yeah, if you're buying new, and it is only a difference of $50, that's a potentially really compelling upsell. By spending 350 more dollars in
yeah.
order to get like a new Switch, I'm less excited about.
Yeah, and I mean, this is one of those things where, like, perhaps the real problem is that we all wanted a slam dunk, as you always do, right? Like, you want something where you're like, no brainer, I'm absolutely going to get this thing. I'm in love with Nintendo and they treat me right. And this doesn't feel like that. But like, I don't know. I like ultimately this. I feel almost just fine ignoring this, right?
Nintendo, yeah, and that's what's so kind of weird about this whole thing is that Nintendo never promised us anything.
Right. That's right.
They never said a word,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so uh it's not their fault that all of these reports came out
Okay.
promising something else.
It may not be their fault, but they live in the same world we do, right? Like they know what they know what the reporting is,
Right, but
right?
what are they supposed to
I don't
supposed to do?
I don't know,
I
but
mean, I guess they could come out and say no, but like nobody believes that anyways because
right, true.
like literally 1 week ago they were saying
We
I guess
have
they
no
weren't
plans,
saying
yeah,
we have no plans. And so
or nothing to announce at this time or whatever.
right. So I am super curious, and I don't think we'll ever know. But would be so curious to know what exactly happened because
Yeah, like if the more powerful versions of the machine were like in the initial plans or some manner of some point in the planning flow chart, and then they ran into the realities of the semiconductor shortage, and were like, well, forget it. We're not going to be able to. Although, like, are the more powerful semiconductors more rare than the ones that run the normal Switch? Like, they're still making these things.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it takes different like fabrication techniques, and
Yeah,
so
that could be.
but the thing that's like so weird to me about it is like again you had like Bloomberg reporting
Yeah,
and they got everything else correct.
yeah,
And so yeah, like at what I it's on the one hand super conceivable to me that there was a version of this that was going to have upgraded silicon that was going to be more powerful. It is also and that in that world it makes sense that like Bloomberg would at some point uh like the suppliers would have,
yeah.
like
Verified some of
seen
the other things.
plans for
Yeah,
like all that kind of stuff. On the other hand, it not being more powerful fits more closely with
yep.
the Nintendo that we like know, like the patterns from the past. Like when we were talking about the Switch Pro, when the rumors were at a pitch, I feel like both of us were kind of like, I like the reports seem to be true, but I don't understand this. Like, how does
Right.
Nintendo market this? They have never been a company that's all about like pro products. So how do you
And they're never
like
gonna call it pro.
right? So like how
Right.
do you couch this like upsell in a way that isn't off-putting to, like people who have bought just a regular Switch? And the answer was, well, they aren't because,
Right.
they didn't need to. And so that's why I don't know. The mystery of what happened with this reporting, where everything else was so spot on, but that one puzzle piece was missing, is really curious.
I mean, I think so. Like the smoking gun in the reporting was always that like there were all these Samsung OLED 7-inch screens that there was like a surplus of them, and Nintendo was buying them up cheap, right? That was sort of the like tangible proof that you could say they're working on a new kind of Switch. And I mean, honestly, this may be where they got themselves in a position where they were like had too good of a deal. Samsung had all these extra screens, and they were like, "We need to unload these things." Nintendo was like, "Yeah, we'll do that and slightly redesign our console." And then everyone else was like, "There's no way that could be it. There's no way that could be all they're doing." And like, psych, that's all they're doing.
Do you think I also wonder from their perspective if this like is a potential release valve on demand
Yeah, I
because
think so.
like at least in the US, like they are selling an incredible amount of Switches. Worldwide, they're selling an incredible amount of Switches.
Yes.
And so obviously the demand is there and you're introducing this new product that's more expensive, potentially finding like a different market fit, right? Where
Yeah.
like, well, how many people are you willing to spend? How much do you want it? Do you want it for $350?
Yeah, which then also leads to, and we talked about this when we were, theorizing about the Switch Pro, that it will lead to a secondary market where Switches are actually available for below MSRP, right? That like people would be trading in their vanilla Switches at GameStop so that they can apply that credit towards the new version, which then people have access to. Like, and that sort of solves a little bit of a problem by getting cheaper Switches back out into the wild for people to buy, and sort of also throws GameStop a bone a little bit, and just like their retail partners. Whether or not Nintendo cares about that, I guess I don't really know. But Nintendo, if for no other reason than just that they've kept up Amiibo, are like obviously helping their physical location retail partners in that way. So I don't know. There are a lot of threads here that all sort of like wind together um, to give us a product that makes a lot of sense business wise, isn't what the hardcore Nintendo audience wants, and is going to be super successful.
What do you think? I do wonder about that. I wonder if it'll be.
About it being successful.
I mean, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I do wonder what like the majority of people will go for. Probably just the regular Switch model if it's available, right?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't
I
know.
mean, it's so I'm not going to get this thing on day one, partially because that's already an expensive Nintendo day for me. I've got the collector's edition of Samus Returns and the Amiibo coming my way. So it's already like $120 day for me, right? I don't need to add another $350 on top of it. So and it sounds like you're not going to get it.
I'm not really planning on getting it. I am curious what the build quality is like. I
Sure.
love my Switch, but it is a little like when you're playing in a handheld mode, it feels a little squicky.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so not Yeah, in like a fine way. But if this was like a really like solidly built Switch, like that could be appealing. But I'm not rushing. I don't think I'm gonna pre-order. Like I'm not rushing to get one.
Right. And also, we don't have any information about pre-orders at this point, right?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen it go up, but I also didn't see any fervor about like people being like pre-orders are going up on Best Buy or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people that are looking forward to this.
Yeah,
And like I think again, if this is your first Switch, or if you have like a Switch that's super damaged or something, like I think for $50 more, a compelling case can be made for picking it up.
yeah.
But it's just hard for me to be like, and I will spend a whole new $350 in order to get it. What, Patrick, do you think this means, if anything, for like an upgraded Switch? Or are we at the point where it's just like, this is kind of it, and then maybe we'll get a Switch Micro towards the end of its life, and then like the successor to the Switch is when we're going to see that sort of like 4K stuff.
No, I think that is still possible. I think in using your 3DS analogy, 3DS, the 2DS is the Switch Lite, and then the 3DS XL is the OLED model. That's still the next step after that is the new 3DS, which actually is the better hardware. So yeah, I think it's possible that a year or two down the line we start hearing rumors again, credible rumors about a Switch with more power. Like I mean, first of all, I think the rumors will persist forever. I just saw GamesBeat's Jeff Grubb being like, I only ever personally heard rumors that said 2022 for. So it's like, okay, well, all right, let's just.
I don't know that I can do it
keep
anymore.
the-
I don't know that I can. How can you ever like, again, no fault of anybody, like Bloomberg, which is the one I go to because they got so much right.
Right.
Like as far like the Switch OLED model, they got like literally everything exactly right except for a new chipset.
Yeah.
And so, but how do you ever trust again? Where it's like,
Yeah, but I mean, this is being a Nintendo fan 101, right? Like, you hear the rumors, people source everything
Yeah.
like super well, and like it's not always someone as credible as Bloomberg
Right.
throwing their hat in the race, but like I feel like we
remember
get here.
Pokemon Stars? I remember Pokemon Stars.
I do think they are. I think the name sells the thing as a boutique item
Mm-hmm.
for the person that wants this specific SKU,
Totally.
right? Like they're not selling it to you as like the next version of the Switch that you absolutely have to have. This is for the person who wants the OLED screen. It's in the name, right?
Or somebody who can't during like peak holidays isn't able to find a base model, and so they're like,
yeah, totally.
fine, I'll pay the extra $50.
Do you think the base model goes away?
Part of me is like, yeah, I kind of think it does eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Yeah.
I do see it going away. Do you think it goes away and the OLED Switch goes down $50, or do you think just the entry cost for Switch is just now $50 more expensive because that's what Nintendo thinks the market will bear?
Well, less for a Switch Lite, which is
Sure.
now the disparity between $199 and $349 feels way bigger than like the difference between $200 and $300 is there. It's real, but it feels a little bit negligible, right? Where you're like, well, it's a kind of a lot of money either way, and not a devastating amount of money either way. But the difference between 200 and 350 feels huge to me.
Yeah.
So I think they've sort of like righted the disparity but between the two units there.
Is that what happened with the new 3DS? Was the new 3DS more expensive, and then that just became the base model that you would get?
I think so. I think they were at $129.99 and $159.99. No, $179. I believe I paid $180 for my new 3DS XL.
That's beast mode. If you can, like, your product is, the Switch has been out for 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is now, and then to be like, and by the way, we're raising the price by $50.
Yeah,
I mean, sure, with like some additions to it, but that's pretty nuts.
Not really substantial. Yeah, well, and it's I mean, the secondary market bears that out though, right? Like you can only buy Switches on the secondary market for more than what they
That's wild.
go
Yeah.
for in the store. So You know, it's as long as the Switch is the king of the world. I don't know. We're stuck in
Yeah,
this scenario.
shrewd business move, but not as like a fan, not like all that much to be excited about.
Right. So here we are. We thought we wouldn't talk about it that much. It's 25 minutes into the show. And Mark, are you ready to have a little bit of fun for once?
Let's do it.
Let's determine the 10 best Nintendo animal companions. So here's how we're going to do this. Mark and I have each come prepared with a list of 10-ish.
Yeah, I have more than 10.
So, Mark, so do I. This is wonderful. I'm glad we can simultaneously disappoint each other. Now, I don't know about you, but I took this to mean, oh, why are we doing this? Like, why is Animal Companion on the brain?
So we've both just recently played Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages, and in that game there are 3 different animals that can assist you, and you get to choose which one you want to kind of be like your companion for the entirety of the game. And one of them I was really taken with, and so that kind of got like animal companions on the brain.
Yeah, so I mean, we can start with that animal companion, Mark, that I am sure you're going to enter as one of your top 10. But so the process here is that we've come with our own lists. We are going to, and mine aren't in any order. I don't know about yours.
No.
And we're going to just put them all on the board here, and then we will eliminate as many as we need to just have 10, and then we will rank those 10 animal companions, and we will have a definitive list of the top 10 animal companions in Nintendo games. Mark, I just want you to know I did not strictly adhere to just Nintendo developed games.
Patrick, you can't see this, listeners, but Patrick and I are shaking hands because I also did not strictly stick with Nintendo characters. I tried as hard as I could.
Yeah.
But there's a few in here. That's partly why I have like more than 15 to try.
More than 15?
Oh, sorry. More
Mark!
than 10.
I'm starting to get mad. I'm going to take back this handshake.
I think 15.
And the other thing that we should draw attention to here is that, well, we are going to be talking about animals, so I think we are going to become a little bit impassioned about how we feel about them.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this process, we have to promise to remain friends.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I know that that seems like a formality to listeners, but truly, I think Patrick and I really consider like, is our like what is more important to us, that we really show our feelings about, like, we're willing to hurt feelings to get the animal companions we want on this list.
Well, and
or for us to remain friends.
We know that we are willing to do that,
right?
And we will go there. But no matter what, no matter how many feelings have been hurt, devastated. We remain friends at the end of this.
Yes.
And if this is not explicitly stated, we risk our friendship with every episode we record.
That's right. That is actually very true.
Okay. Well, Mark, would you like to start with
an
animal companion?
So my first animal companion is going to be Moosh, which is a bear with wings in The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. Oracle of Ages, I was
also Oracle of Seasons.
Oh,
I guess
he is in both. Kind of lukewarm on Oracle of Ages in general, like as a whole, but I was really taken with this bear. Imagine kind of like one of those Charmin toilet paper bears.
Right.
Blue.
But hold on. Erase everything you know about him wiping his own butt.
Right.
You need to remove that.
Yes. Yeah.
So you have room for love in your heart. Right.
This is a big old blue bear with tiny little wings.
So small.
And he will like let Link ride on him so that way he can help Link get over these giant holes in the ground. And there's fan art of Moosh on the internet that is so cute. Like, Link is sitting on his back and Moosh has like a tiny bead of sweat like coming down his face because he's working so hard with his tiny little wings, carrying his big old body, and then also Link up there. My heart melted for Moosh really a bit. And he's blue, which I think was to take advantage of the Game Boy Color screen, but it's so much fun. I'm a big fan of Moosh.
Mark, I thank you for directing me to Moosh fan art, which I immediately Googled. Yeah, it's incredible because he's like this big, and the fan artists are quick to play into his chubbiness, and so there's just these rolls of blue bear fat, and these tiny little wings. My God, they're so small.
I would love a remake of Oracle of Ages just to see a high definition Moosh.
Another thing that I like about Moosh is that when you encounter him, he's usually being beat up by monsters.
That's true. He's a gentle giant.
He's a gentle giant. He's kind of a pushover, but like we love him anyway. A great pick, Mark. A wonderful pick, new to our hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if we had done this episode a few weeks ago, I would not have even known about him.
So I'm gonna go from new to our hearts to probably built into our hearts before we were even aware that they existed. And I'm gonna try to make an argument for this as a companion because you could argue that he is the primary antagonist of the game. I'm referring, of course, to the dog from Duck Hunt.
Okay, I think I thought about this too, and there are some on my list that we're gonna have to be graceful about if we want to, if we ended up including it, because they stretch the definition of companion. But I think Duck Hunt Dog is fair because presumably you brought him out there with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you shoot the ducks and he pulls them up and is like, look, you did a good job. Does he also chide you when you let the ducks get away? Absolutely.
But in that way that like friends do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's just giving you the business.
Exactly. He's given as good as he gets.
And maybe we should be steering away from that sort of like boys will be boys attitude, right?
Well, we haven't determined if he's going to make our like top 10.
That's true. But he's going in there, the Duck Hunt Dog.
Okay, well, I have another classic on here, and that is Rambi from Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
I believe, I did not go back and verify this, that when we ranked the animal buddies from Donkey Kong Country series, Rambi came out on top, and that is why I'm including him here.
Yeah, a great pull, a necessary pull. And you are correct. I can tell you without going back and listening to the episode. This is one of those, how every now and then we do a ranking and we're like, well, obviously this is number one, but we'll talk about it when we get to the very top of the list. And Rambi was that for us. Rambi is the number one animal buddy in Donkey Kong Country.
Who else is going to be Squitter?
No, come on. I do have another animal buddy from Donkey Kong Country on my list, but it is not Squitter. Squitter.
I think it's like a button thing.
Very good. For my next pick, I'm selecting from Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, Plessy.
Oh,
the
Plessy's
aquatic
a good pull, yeah.
dinosaur thing whose back you ride on in these weird little like vehicle-esque levels. And Plessy's adorable and wears a little like ascot or like a little scarf around his neck. When he drops you off, he stands on his hind legs and waves at you. I absolutely love Plessy. Was thrilled to get to spend more time with him in Bowser's Fury, where he acts as like your horse as you ride around the watery plains of Bowser's world there, whatever it is. Yeah, Plessy's just the best. I love him.
That's a really good one. Okay, up next, I have just a blanket Nintendog from the Nintendogs series.
So I also have a variation on Nintendog here. But I just wrote the player's Nintendog.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to couch it.
That like your Nintendog, Mark, is one of your best Nintendo companions. My Nintendog, absolutely, I cared for that thing, right? Like I loved it. So yeah, an absolutely iconic pull. Nintendogs, I feel like doesn't get enough attention in like the like gaming pundit sphere. No one seems to talk about it anymore. It's one of those everyone played it games and everyone loved it, but no one wants to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, and one of those that I think it'll be a little bit sad if it remains a DS and 3DS
totally
like thing, and that we never see another like version of Nintendogs. Did you see the I haven't watched the run. I saw an article on Kotaku that during Games Done Quick somebody was speedrunning Nintendogs, and they were trying to take it through the obstacle course, and like it just obstinately would not go through the tube.
I love it. I love it. I love how much the dog will do what it wants. All right, my next pull is a weird little green ostrich bird. Not little, it's large. It's probably 7 feet tall. from Super Metroid by the name of Dachora. This is the species name. This is the bird that in Super Metroid on the planet Zebes teaches you how to use your speed boosts to like kind of crouch and then rocket up into the sky. It teaches by demonstration, and it ends up being one of Samus's sort of persistent companions and follows her to and through the beginning of Metroid Fusion and escapes that space station with her. So it's entirely possible that we're going to see more of this thing in Metroid Dread, and nothing would make me happier.
I know that this is not true. I know that this is not true. But in my head, this bird looks like Kevin from the movie Up.
Oh, now that is interesting. I don't even know if this bird actually has feathers. I think it may be a scaly bird, and is green.
It's like one of those like joust weird.
It is
like,
kind of
bird
like one of
thingies.
those joust weird
Yeah.
bird thingies. Yeah, it's a green
It's like
ostrich.
something out of like Heavy Metal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and the Samus's connection to animals, and to like the natural world is one of the things that, to me, always feels like it plays out in the background of these games. And it's like an important thematic element, if not like the main one. And the Chora, sort of embodies that.
Okay, my next one is a character that is not actually from a Nintendo game, but it is one that I associate with the Nintendo DS, and that is Missile, the little Pomeranian from Ghost Trick. This is a very energetic, kind of annoying, but in a way that is very true to the spirit of like a little Pomeranian that really just wants to help in the game.
Does it talk? What's his name? I'm sorry.
It's Missile. Missile is the name of this little Pomeranian, and it does talk because it's a ghost, and you're a ghost, and so because Missile is dead, and so
Wow,
so
RIP.
you can communicate. Yeah, big fan of Missile. I really encourage you, listener, to Google Missile from Ghost Trick because the art is really cute. So yeah, Missile is my pick.
I wonder if that is going to be the only ghost dog that we encounter. Oh, Missile is cute. That's a cute dog.
I'll tell you, no, it is not the only ghost dog.
Perfect. All right, Mark, are you ready for me to throw a weird one at you?
Yeah.
That I'm then going to justify as indeed a companion and not the player character itself. I'm referring, of course, to Wolf Link from The Legend of Zelda: The Twilight Princess. During the portions of that game where Link is transformed into a wolf, I believe that you are not controlling the wolf. I believe you are controlling Midna.
Who is then controlling the wolf?
Who is then, yes, like Link is the mount at that point. Further to this point, in Breath of the Wild, if you have the Wolf Link amiibo, you can scan him in and he runs around with you. He's a cool looking wolf. He's got a Triforce on his head. He does what you want him to, and he's a wolf.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, he's just a dog with a hat.
Wow, I don't like how dismissive we're. First of all, we would be of dogs with hats, and second of all,
I meant it as a selling point. I think at this point, everything can go on the board. Right? There's no reason we have to edit ourselves now. We'll test our friendship later.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So in that spirit, I am going to put someone on here that I can only tenuously argue as a companion.
Okay.
In like I'll just say it. It's the baby penguin from Mario 64.
Okay. All right. Sure. So why do we like this penguin? We like this penguin because you can throw him off the edge of the world.
Yeah, that's exactly it. The penguin is iconic because that penguin has been thrown off the edge of a cliff so many times.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, with purpose.
Yeah.
It happens.
Right. No, it's good. It's good. I mean, at baby penguin, add him to the board. Do we like the baby penguin? We like the baby penguin more than like the mother penguin.
I think it's just the cute factor, right?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. We like the baby more than yeah, of course. Although I'm not to discount a penguin that like if Mario's like 5 feet tall, that this penguin must be like
enormous,
almost 20 feet tall.
Yeah,
Like it's a huge penguin.
This penguin would tower over you. It'd be terrifying.
This penguin would be peering into the window of my second story apartment from the street. It would be horrifying. Mark, I'm about to add another dog to this list. So So I went back and forth being like, is Yoshi an animal companion? And I ultimately landed on no, because he has his own animal companion in the form of Poochie, the dog from Yoshi's Island, Yoshi's Everything. Um, Poochie is incredible. He is invincible. He runs over spikes for you. He will chomp up the bad guys like they're nothing, and he'll let you ride on his back, and he'll go in whatever direction you're facing. He is the consummate companion.
Yeah, that's such a good poll. I am going to go ahead and put Yoshi on this list
Okay.
purely in Super Mario World. Because
Okay,
in
sure.
Super Mario World, he functions mostly exclusively as kind of like a companion and would evolve past that. But
The Super Mario World Yoshi also does feel like a different creature, right? Like it just physically, like its posture is different, and like the way it behaves is so different from every other appearance of Yoshi.
yeah,
So yeah, I think we can allow that. Mark, next on my list, I've got a little bit of a basic pick. So I apologize, but it's too classic to ignore. I'm putting forth Epona,
oh yeah, for
Link's
sure.
Link's horse.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
what
would be
more really can
remiss
be
if
said?
we
Yeah.
didn't include Epona on this list.
I think one of the most compelling things about Epona is meeting her as a young horse, and then coming back when she and Link are both 7 years older. Like it's I don't know. There's something about like the loss of innocence in her life as the ranch is taken over by Ingo and all that stuff. I'm referring here just to the Ocarina of Time, even though you encounter her in other games too.
But it is true that Ocarina of Time, I think, is
Yeah.
it's the first appearance of Epona, and it is definitely like the most iconic appearance of
so
Epona.
it's sort of the platonic Epona.
Yeah.
Where else does she appear? Actually, she's in Twilight Princess, and then I guess you can name a horse Epona.
Yeah, in
in
like
Breath
Breath
of
of
the
the Wild, and she's in the beginning of Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
I think that might be it.
My next pick is also just a classic that I think we're gonna have to grapple with at some point, and I'm saying Pikachu from Pokemon. But
Okay.
you could make the argument that really it's like any of your starters. But I think Pikachu is kind of like the like Pokemon starter if we're talking about like animal companions.
So yeah, I think it's got to just be Pikachu. I appreciate the trying to broaden it out to like any starter. But I think first of all, there's like 30 of those, right? But like the Pikachu is he is the original like companion, right? From Pokemon Yellow, where he's like trailing you on the screen. Obviously in Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. Well, just Let's Go Pikachu. He's also following you around. Um, I almost want to quibble with calling him an animal, because like he's a monster. He's a Pokemon, but he stays on the list for now.
Yeah.
Right. So we let him stay. Where to go next, Mark? This one's just for me, and I'm happy just to mention him. I know he'll come off the list almost immediately, but I'm going to nominate the dog from Secret of Evermore.
Patrick, I have the dog from Secret of Evermore on my list as
Oh
well.
my god!
Because I shouldn't have doubted that you would have him on there, but I wanted to make sure that we got to talk about Secret of Evermore. Can I put forth just another generic dog? And it's sad that both these dogs don't have any better name. This is the dog from Super Mario Odyssey. That,
Yes.
It's like a little Shiba Inu that, like once you encounter him,
He wears a hat.
he wears a hat that he will fetch. He will fetch your hat. He runs around very joyful. I both like and dislike that it has no name. It's just a small fun thing that
Right.
Nintendo included in the game for no reason other than just to bring joy.
He can dig up coins for you. He rides along on the Odyssey. He is, as much as that entire game is joy incarnate. I feel like the dog from Super Mario Odyssey similarly embodies joy. All right. My next pick. You know what? I'm gonna eliminate one, and I'm gonna let you know what I'm eliminating right now. It is Rush from Mega Man.
This is another one that's on my list. And can I ask, are we eliminating it because it's a robot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Not because it's not but like it doesn't feel right. Also, look, we got a lot of dogs on this list.
We do have a lot of dogs.
But dogs are the best animal. I don't know what to tell anyone.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Polterpup. I have Polterpup on my list.
Throw him on the list.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I guess that is, 2 ghost dogs.
2 ghost dogs. Polterpup, of course, from Luigi's Mansion 3. He is a ghost that is a dog. What more can be said about man's best friend?
And he's kind of like an antagonist a little bit in the
Dead
second
man's
game.
best friend.
Yeah.
I got there.
In the second game, in Dark Moon, he is a little bit of an antagonist.
Oh, okay.
Like he's like a mini boss. But in the third game, they found the right purpose for Polterpup, where he is just purely a companion.
Yeah, hey, Luigi's Mansion, don't make me fight a dog. What are you doing? You're not Resident Evil. All right, so we're getting down to sort of the bottom here. I will admit I am saving some not super great entries here for my last mentions. Mark, are you aware that Wario has a pet hen?
No.
Wario has a pet hen that goes missing, is kidnapped in Wario Land 2, and it proves to be the only thing that will distract Wario from his greed and lust for money. He must put that on hold so he can rescue his hen.
Some real Gonzo energy.
It is some real Gonzo energy. I don't know why it's not a more recalled, like why we don't see Wario's hen in other games.
Yeah. Well, I have something from WarioWare Smooth Moves.
I love this.
And this is it is a companion. Well, we'll put it on the list and we can determine what to do with it. So basically, the legendary cat dancers from WarioWare Smooth Moves. And what these are,
this is so good,
is there's a like disco kind of like disco stew-esque character called Jimmy T, who is in like the cutscene before it. His little story is that he's like walking down the street in the rain and he sees a small cat behind a garbage can, and so like Jimmy gives the cat an umbrella, keeps going, and then the cat, along with other cats, 11 other cats, so 12 cats in total, keep following him wherever he goes. And so Jimmy is like dancing up on like a roof, and the cats are dancing. It's really amazing. It's really adorable. So this is the legendary cat dancers from WarioWare Smooth Move.
What a good pick. They are incredible. I mean, the little story vignettes that WarioWare
so good
presents you with. I hope we don't lose those in the new one. Get it together. Play it together. What is it? Get it together. Get it together. Yeah, just absolutely incredible. Looking forward to more pets there. Here's an animal. We can argue whether or not it's a companion. Mamu, who is probably also Wart, as he appears in Link's Awakening.
Oh.
So, Mamu is a frog king or frog hit recording artist or something, who teaches Link a song that he plays on his ocarina, which he then uses to wake the rooster at like the town weather vane or whatever, so you can like teleport around the map. But he's like a weird frog man who looks eerily like Wart, the main boss from Super Mario Brothers USA or Super Mario Brothers 2 on the NES. He's just like our love of Wart is well known. And in this version of him, he sings hit songs that everyone clamors to hear and that have magical effects.
So I have one on my list from Link's Awakening that I'm not sure about, but it's like the chain. I don't even know if it has a name. It's that like the chain chomp that's treated as a dog.
Yeah,
Bow Wow. Bow Wow that you have to like go rescue in Link's Awakening.
Yes, that the one that like travels with you for a little bit. Yeah, good. Again, I'm not sure if it's an animal, so we'll.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's treated like a dog, but
right.
like.
Well, we'll keep it off. Keep it off.
Oh, okay. Keeping it off. Okay.
Yeah, we'll keep it off. Because here's another one that I'm like, I mean, we have a lot right now.
Yeah.
And here's another one that I don't really know what to do with this. Maybe they're too much like people, but the Star Fox crew.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are just characters, right?
But they're companions and they're animals. I mean, they check all the boxes.
I thought about this. I thought about these guys too, and it was immediately like, I mean, is Fox an animal?
Yeah. He's a fox.
He's a man.
No. Patrick, no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We do have a handful of other anthropomorphic animals on here. I just put Mamu on.
Right.
So
But
I'm gonna need you to be specific.
okay.
If there is
Slippy Toad.
okay, so we're putting 2 frogs on this list. I want you to be
frog. Iconic Nintendo frog. There's
right.
a list for you.
Okay, we're gonna do top 10 Nintendo frogs.
Okay. We'll put a pin in Slippy. Because heart of hearts, he's not making the top 10.
Right.
But what about Judd or Little Judd from Splatoon?
Ooh.
Not really companions.
Right.
They just exist in the world.
But they are so different. I'm so sorry for that audible sigh. Just that they are so different from everyone else is a squid kid or some other sort of marine creature, right? Like there's that tempura shrimp who like sells sneakers. There's like the clam that sells you weapons. Everyone is a sea creature with the exception of Judd and Little Judd, who are cats.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Judd is like a cat from like hundreds or thousands of years ago. That was
is he really been
cryogenically
alive that long?
frozen. He was cryogenically frozen and then he woke up. And so he's the only, as far as we know in Splatoon lore, he is the only mammal. He and Little Judd are the only mammals left on Earth.
You know what rules is the Splatoon lore?
Yeah,
it's
totally.
so good.
Also, I lied. I did write Slippy Toad, and on a post-it note and put him on the table because as soon as I said he wouldn't make top 10, I doubted myself. And I was like, actually, we might pull him up there.
Did we end up ranking him as like we
really
ended up
high.
ranking him way high
Yeah.
in the when we were ranking the Star Fox crew? Mark, I have one final animal companion to add to this list, and it is the aforementioned from Donkey Kong Country. I am adding Ungard, the swordfish, to the list.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Ungard's got style. He's also got a certain like joie de vivre. The rest of the animal companions seemingly freak out while you're riding them, right? Not Ungard though. He was born to joust his way through the briny deep of Kong Island. So like it just absolutely is it called? It's not Skull Island. What is it? Is it Kong Island? Am I right?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean that makes sense. I can't remember exactly.
So Mark, do you have any further additions to this list?
No, I think that's I think that was my list.
So when Mark arrived here this evening, he said, "I have to admit, I had a hard time coming up with animal companions, and now we have a table.
We did pretty good.
Full of like 25-ish animals. So, Mark, let's run it down. We'll just go like line by line. I'll do the first line of them. So we've got the dog from Super Mario Odyssey, Slippy Toad from Star Fox, the dog from Secret of Evermore, and Mamu from Link's Awakening.
We have the baby penguin from Mario 64, Poochie from the Yoshi series, Wolf Link from Twilight Princess, On Guard from Donkey Kong Country.
And then we've got Missile from Ghost Trick. We've got the Player's Nintendog. We've got Plessy from Super Mario 3D World. We've got Dachora, the ostrich thing from Super Metroid.
We have Yoshi from Super Mario World, Moosh from Oracle of Ages, Duck Hunt Dog from Duck Hunt, Epona from the Legend of Zelda series.
We've got Polterpup from Luigi's Mansion 3, also Luigi's Mansion 2. We've got Pikachu from the Pokemon series. We've got Rambi from Donkey Kong Country, and Wario's Hen from Wario Land 2.
And last, we have Little Judd and Lil Judd from Splatoon, and the legendary cat dancers from WarioWare Smooth Moves.
Okay, so we've got our work cut out for us here because we've got to slim this down to 10. Do you see any easy cuts where we're like, you know, you said before, let's face it, it's not going to make the top 10. But is there any of that still feels true to you?
Yeah, I feel like I can prune my list pretty easily.
Well, here's what I'd like to do.
Okay.
I'd like to no longer think of them as your list and my list. This is our list.
Got it.
We are working on them together. They are very clearly color-coded and in each other's handwriting. So, like, there's no getting around.
Mm-hmm.
There's no getting around what we're looking at here on the table.
Okay, well, how about this? How about
I'm going to snap a pic so we can tweet it out.
How about I take one from your list and you take one from from our list, and then you take one from our list.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Wario's Hen. I'm so glad you brought this up because I was not aware of this part of Wario's lore. And I think it's so perfect, and I do think it's unfortunate that more hay is not made about Wario's hen.
Right.
Um,
But you are pulling it from the
but
list.
not a top 10 one, I don't think.
Not a lot of Game Boy Color love here happening now. But I understand. What do we know about Wario's hen? She's a hen, and Wario loves her. That's the end of the list. Mark, from our collective list, I think I gotta pull that Pikachu off of there. I don't think he's an animal.
Ooh, I mean, I will not fight you too hard on this, but I think it's hard to argue that Pikachu is not an animal.
He's a Pokemon. They're not like they live in a world where like a Pokemon is a kind of thing.
But yes, like but is the equivalent of an animal. That's like saying that the like bird thing
Yeah.
from
Clearly an animal.
um
from Super Metroid. All right.
I'm not ready to let you take Pikachu off quite yet.
All right. Then I guess I'm gonna pull the baby penguin then from Mario 64.
I think that's fair. Fare thee well, baby penguin.
And again, that may be more on the. It's not that we dislike the animal. It's just its status as a companion is suspect. Mark, to that end, I actually want to put up one of my own as a sacrificial. Mamu/Wart from Link's Awakening. He is more of an animal acquaintance, an animal teacher, perhaps, but not a companion. He never goes anywhere with you.
And for that reason, I'll also take off the legendary cat dancers.
Oh,
it's
wow,
a really
that one hurts.
cute sequence
Yeah.
in WarioWare Smooth Moves, but I don't think it wasn't one that like immediately sprung to mind when I was like, oh yes, of course, we're doing animal companions. I'll do the legendary cat dancers.
All right, so we've shown some nice like contrition, some like meeting in the middle here. Now I think things get ugly.
So
We're sort of left with Stone Cold Classics, right?
Yes,
some.
I dear to our hearts, but the dog from Secret of Evermore.
Let's talk about him right now, because you're right, of course. It would be weird for him to make it into the top 10. But the dog from Secret of Evermore is amazing. You name him yourself, which is why he has no name here. He transforms as you travel through the various lands made up by the people who inhabit Evermore. I love him dearly. He is like the muscle to like your main character's sort of like wizard character. And I say wizard character because he has like the spells and stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, he doesn't even have a single iconic look. He looks 4 different ways depending on where you are. So I think we got to pull him out. Also, we're never going to see Secret of Evermore released on any other platform ever again. So he's gone.
So I think that a strong argument could be made for these. Wolf Link, I feel like maybe Wolf Link is your Pikachu, where
I think Wolf Link is my Slippy Toad.
Oh, right, because wait, your argument for Wolf Link is that
my argument for Wolf Link
he's Midna's companion.
He is the mount, yes. And also in Breath of the Wild, unequivocally, he is your animal companion if you have that amiibo. But so I think they occupy a similar space where I'm like, I don't know if they totally qualify. Slippy being an animal, sure, but also like, I don't know, he walks and talks and like
a companion or a friend really is like Slippy's thing, right? Is it like, do you know what I mean? Where it's like, is he like an animal companion to Fox, or is he just one of Fox's friends? Because he has his own like agency and everything. He's not dependent on Fox for anything.
Right. He is. Well, so I think this is interesting that in the animal companion relationship, there needs to be like some level of like acknowledgement that the animal companion is I'm just going to say this, even though it sounds the way it sounds, a lower form of life.
Yeah, totally.
And I think Slippy Toad and Fox McCloud are the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's like a certain amount of, I think for like, for animal companion, I think from the definition that I have in my head, there is a certain amount of like, this companion is reliant on the other person for like life, basically.
Okay, I just want to run this past you. Luke's Tauntaun, an animal companion. Chewbacca,
not an animal companion.
Not an animal companion.
I mean, like you could say an animal who is a companion, but a friend.
Right.
Yeah.
More or less an
Yes.
equal.
I
Okay.
think I think we are in agreement with the spirit of this. So Slippy Toad remove.
Um, but Wolf Link's status remains unchanged. I guess for the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Missile from Ghost Trick. Love, 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 love this character. Technically a Capcom character, and also just I don't think going to be able to beat out
Yeah.
some of these other heavyweights.
So just to review now, I think in looking at the board, we have now rid ourselves of any characters not introduced in a Nintendo developed game, right?
I think that's right.
Okay. Which also feels good. You know, sometimes we get to a point where the main theme from Katamari Damacy is in the running for the one of the top 4 Nintendo music tracks of all time, and we're like, oh no, what have we done? But this we have avoided that fate here. What do we do here?
Well, I think we got to start like ranking.
Yeah, okay.
I think that will help us sort out like what actually makes the top 10. I'll just real fast run through what we have.
Yeah.
So left on the board is the dog from Super Mario Odyssey, On Guard from Donkey Kong Country, Poochie from the Yoshi series, Wolf Link from Twilight Princess,
Dachora from Super Metroid, Plessy from Super Mario 3D World, the player's Nintendog from Nintendogs,
Yoshi from Super Mario World, Moosh from Oracle of Ages, the Duck Hunt dog from Duck Hunt, Epona from Legend of Zelda,
Rambi from Donkey Kong Country, Pikachu from the Pokemon series, Polterpup from Luigi's Mansion 3,
and Judd and Lil Judd from Splatoon.
Let's quick talk about Judd and Little Judd. I think we need to pick one
I actually think we might be able to save ourselves.
and just eliminate him.
I think we can eliminate them because in the definition that we have, like they are not even really your pet. They exist in the world,
Yes.
but they like are completely independent.
They are an officiant, if anything.
Yeah.
Animal officiants. We will do one of those at some point, and we'll see how we're going. So we are down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're close. We're close to getting a top 10 here. It's tough because normally at this point I say, what do you see as like early bottom contenders? But any contender for the bottom is going to be just cut, right? We need to cut 4 of these.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I feel like we could do Moosh from Oracle of Ages, and I have a newfound love of Moosh, but I think not enough people know who Moosh is. I didn't know who Moosh was until like 2 weeks ago. And so like going up against Epona or On Guard, I think it's more difficult to make the argument.
Do yourself a favor though, as you listen to this, and Google Moosh, Moosh, fan art. You don't even need to specify that you're talking about a Zelda character. You will find the cutest big blue bear with tiny wings. And you can just love those images. And you don't get anything weird when you Google that, which
Moosh
I think is great.
Precious.
I think in a similar spirit, I would like to put Poochie on the chopping block here. For as much as I like Poochie, I'm just sort of measuring him up against the other dogs that we have on here. And the dog from Super Mario Odyssey, the Polterpup, and the Duck Hunt dog, like he seems outclassed by characters that have either been around longer or who are better able to show personality. The player's Nintendog is on here. It's sort of like Poochie's presence is a mockery to the other dogs.
What do you think we do with On Guard and Rambi? Do you think there's space in our top 10 for 2 Donkey Kong Country buddies?
I do think there are.
Okay.
I don't think that necessarily has to be the case. I think maybe at this point we go through, and because we only need to eliminate 2 more, so that we have 10. Should we start moving characters into a safe, like that we know are safe?
Yeah. So I for me, Yoshi from Super Mario World is safe for now.
Yoshi, when we originally pitched this idea, I thought was the animal companion to beat. That Yoshi would be number 1 default, and then everyone else would have to just like follow in behind him. So I'm gonna agree with that. I'm also gonna say that Rambi absolutely. There's no way he doesn't make it into our top 10.
Next I'll say Epona. That's like another one where I think for sure has to be a contender.
Right. And then I also think, I mean, if for no other reason than longevity, the Duck Hunt dog has to be in this top 10.
Yeah, so we pretty much have the classics up there. I guess like Pikachu is one that I have a hard time parting with.
Yeah.
Um, I I feel like it meets all of our definitions for animal companion, minus the argument that it is a monster or a pocket monster instead of an animal.
Well, and I guess that there's like another form of the argument that you can make against Pikachu, which is in what way, if we open the door to Pikachu,
Uh huh.
why aren't there 500 Pokemon
Well, I
on
think
this
there could
list?
be. I think you totally could make that. I
I
mean, I said it. I said in the beginning that like any of your starters
Yeah,
could
yeah,
make
yeah.
the list, but anyone's Pokemon, even like the key ring could be somebody's favorite Pokemon, could be somebody's favorite companion.
That's true. It's tough. It's very difficult for me to see Pokemon as an animal companion, but I will live in this reality for a little while
Okay,
longer.
so I'm gonna say safe.
Okay. Okay. The dog from Super Mario Odyssey, Polterpup, the player's Nintendog, Plessy, Dachora, On Guard, and Wolf Link.
So my vote is what we do with these 7 that are like still up for debate a little bit. Is I think we just start like
Pitting them against
pitting
each
them
other.
against each other
Okay.
and seeing where we fall.
Let's start with On Guard to see if he survives. On Guard greater than Wolf Link or less than Wolf Link?
So I don't really see Wolflink as a companion so much.
Spoken like someone who never had that amiibo and played with him in Breath of the Wild.
So, but that of the two characters, which do I think is stronger? I think Wolflink is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just temporarily put On Guard below Wolf Link.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's take the Polterpup and just run him against On Guard.
Yeah, so we'll start from the bottom. So Polterpup versus On Guard. More personality in Polterpup.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, again, hard to compete with a dog.
Yeah, less utility, I would say, than On Guard. Okay, so Polterpup versus Wolflink.
I go Wolf Link on this.
Okay.
How are you feeling about that?
So I like Polterpup. I think Polterpup is really
I do too.
I think Polterpup is really cute, but I feel comfortable with him not necessarily making our top 10.
But
So,
he may still, like, we've got four others to
for
slot
sure.
in here.
But so above On Guard, below Wolflink,
Okay.
where Polterpup will sit for now.
Let's grab that dog from Super Mario Odyssey.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to start him at the bottom and see how he fares. Dog from Super Mario Odyssey versus On Guard. This is like apples and oranges. It's very. I know we always put ourselves in difficult situations, but I feel like we have done ourselves no favors here.
They're so different in their
Yeah.
utility, right?
Yeah.
Like the dog from Super Mario Odyssey is pure joy.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have any gameplay function. Like On Guard's reliable, right? Like
Yeah.
when On Guard shows up in a level, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get stuff done. You know, but so
Ooh,
they're
yeah,
like
this is-
two totally different pleasures.
This is a great point that like the On Guard, maybe a buddy, maybe your companion, is ultimately a vehicle.
Yeah, he's a tractor.
Okay. So the dog and maybe the lack of the dog's utility makes it a better companion.
Right.
Because there's never any question about why you're hanging out with him.
Yes.
It's because you
Yeah.
like him and he likes you.
It is pure companionship.
Yeah. Okay. He beats On Guard
Okay. Polterpup.
versus the dog from Super Mario Odyssey. I gotta say, I gotta go with a flesh and blood dog above a ghost dog.
Okay, and then Wolflink.
What are you thinking?
You know, I am not crazy about Wolflink being. I don't feel strongly about it, or is it? I'm not angry, like I have been with some of our other, like lists in the past. But I put dog above Wolflink for me, just because I think it fits the definition of what we're going for a little bit better.
Okay. Put him up there. Now let's grab Plessy from Super Mario 3D World.
Ooh, this one is like the perfect mix between dog and On Guard. Like the
Yes.
dog from Super Mario Odyssey and On Guard. It's a delight to see them every time.
Mm-hmm.
He's really just helping you out because he wants to.
Yes. He wears a little scarf.
Uh-huh.
I put him above the dog from Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's named,
Yeah,
I think
helps. It does
it
help.
does help.
Um, okay, Plessy doing great. So Plessy is also bested the Wolf Link, the Polar Pup, and On Guard. Which one of these you want to do? Put next in the lineup here.
Let's do Decora. Is that how we say
I've
it?
been saying Dachora.
Okay, Dechora. Let's do that because I have been fearing having to pronounce it all night. So
Is
let's
that why
figure
we
out-
haven't talked
Let's
about it?
figure out what we're gonna do with Dechora.
This is the ostrich from Super Metroid.
So Dechora versus On Guard.
I say better than On Guard.
Okay. I feel like On Guard. Well, actually, I was gonna say has more utility. That's not true. Like Dechara, reveals very important information to you.
And is it another thing where it's like the Dachora has an implied inner life where it does things while Samus isn't around.
Yeah.
But then also like helps her escapes from a exploding planet with her. On Guard, he's a tractor, like you said.
He's sitting in a crate. He's chilling in a crate.
He is in a crate.
Yeah.
And he's probably been put there. I'm not really familiar with the
I don't know if
deep
there's
lore on
necessarily
that.
lore. Yeah. Okay, so Dechara above On Guard. I feel good about that.
Yeah, me too.
Polterpup, I think also above.
Okay. Yeah,
me.
I'll agree with that.
Wolflink, this is where I'm not sure it can break this barrier.
I sort of want to put it above Wolflink.
I will say one thing I like about Dechora, and maybe it's just because
It's a made-up word. You don't have to feel bad about saying it wrong.
What if its parents are listening? One thing I'd like about it compared to Wolflink is, and some of these others on the list, is I like that it's alien.
Yeah.
And I like how kind of like mysterious it is, and that it is like iconic, but it is so far just like pretty much a one-off.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that.
Dog from Super Mario Odyssey
Versus the Dachora.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's implied that both have inner lives separate from the protagonist. The dog from Super Mario Odyssey brings about more joy, is more focused on joy, which, I mean, that may also just be a function of the fact that Mario Odyssey is a game about joy, and all of the Metroid games are profoundly not. But I think I gotta give the edge there to the dog from Super Mario Odyssey.
Okay. So I think this brings us to the player's Nintendog.
So this one is impossible, I think. This is, and we both had it on our list. This is one where I almost feel like it should be removed from the list with an honorable mention. That, like, it cannot possibly be in the top 10 because it comes so close to being a dog. It is the entirety of the game, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like it needs to be factored in somehow separately.
Yeah, because it's like everybody's experience with it is going to be
Totally different
and
yeah.
like unique.
And the entirety of your experience with the game.
Yeah. And so it's so based on like everybody's individual connection to your Nintendog. I think you're right. I think the player's Nintendog gets posted in the Nintendo Companion Hall of Fame as like a for sure member, but is not in the running to be like on our list. It can't be number one.
Do you know what I wish I could remember? Is our joke about the Cecil B. DeMille Award. Do you remember when we did the Cardies? That we could award this with a Lifetime Achievement Award, like a Cecil B. DeMario. I can't remember
what it was either. But yes, yeah. The player's Nintendog is not winning tonight, but is getting that Lifetime Achievement Award because it's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not the winner.
Right. So he gets set to the side, he or she, and actually both. Well, how do you feel about the cat in Nintendogs and Cats? Is that implied in here or out the window?
I think we should. I think it's fair to include it.
Okay. I'm just gonna add in a different color and cats.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Okay, so I feel the bottom of our list at this moment is pretty solid. And so now we need to approach the top 5.
Well, so wait a minute. We have 6 in the bottom, and I'm not necessarily convinced that these 5 that we put aside as
you're right, that will be the top. Yeah,
right.
That's fair.
But I think we do know who is the bottom of our bottom of the list, because we only need to remove one at this point. And I think it means that On Guard is not moving forward.
I think we reserve that right to the very end
Wow.
because I think it's possible that we could. It
That's
has happened
someone
in the
else. Okay.
past
All
that we
right.
could
All
we
right.
could talk our way a few of these off the list.
All right. Let's pull up. No, not Yoshi. Jump on that one last. Let's take Rambi
Okay.
and compete him here. Rambi obviously better than On Guard.
Yeah.
No question. Rambi versus Polterpup.
Polterpup has more personality. I think one thing I will say against Rambi and really all the animal companions, all the animal buddies from the Donkey Kong series,
Distractors.
other than googly eyes, like other than the big eyes, they don't really have a lot of personality, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, I like Rambi because he's sassy, and I like Espresso because she's flirty, right? There's none of that
Right.
like um there's no personality really.
Right. It fails the like basic character test of without describing their appearance or their job, tell me about the character.
Right. And like Polterpup has less utility,
Yeah.
but more personality.
And an implied inner life, not life, afterlife, an implied afterlife outside of his experience with Luigi.
Yeah.
So we are putting Rambi above On Guard, but below Polterpup.
I think so.
Okay, that's fair. Let's take Epona. Let's run Epona through the paces here.
Okay. Epona for me is really difficult because it is not like in a lot of ways it's like Rambi and On Guard, right?
Yeah.
Epona, especially like in Breath of the Wild, you can name a horse Epona, but it really is like a workhorse.
Yeah.
Except in Ocarina of Time, in which case there is a real connection between Epona and Link.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I really like
Me
that
too.
story in Ocarina of Time. And so I'm hard pressed to put it below
Even Plessy.
Plessy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Epona right now is being slotted in at the top of our like actual ranked
I think
list
so.
so far. All right, which of the three remaining that we have to like figure out where they go in our ranking are Pikachu, Yoshi from Super Mario World, and Duck Hunt Dog. Where would you like to go next, Mark?
Let's do the Duck Hunt Dog because this is one that is in a classic. Has the only one on this list, I guess, other than Yoshi and Pikachu. Never mind. I was gonna say appearance of Smash Brothers.
I mean, one thing that I will say about Duck Hunt Dog as a contender in this specific contest is that he's kind of the Muhammad Ali, right? Where like he's a heavyweight, he is like a favorite to win, but you're like, do I like this guy? Like, probably not. He's kind of a jerk.
Duck Hunt Dog is a jerk, I think for sure. And so it's like, well, Epona, no,
less than Epona, right?
Plessy,
less than Plessy.
Yeah. Duck Hunt Dog, get a cravat, and then we'll talk.
Yep.
Dog from Super Mario Odyssey, like Duck Hunt Dog doesn't bring me as much joy,
right?
But is more iconic.
Yeah, and he arguably has more personality in that, like, you have a more varied experience of him. He is both proud of you and willing to laugh at your misfortune.
Yeah.
Dog from Super Mario Odyssey, I don't know, is just a joy bucket. I'm not sure that he could laugh at you maliciously if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But even still, I feel like I put him at least slightly below. Like I
just don't like Duck Hunt Dog that much.
Sure, okay.
Like, I think he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he is a little bit.
So, are we saying below Dog from Super Mario Odyssey and above Dachora?
The Dachora?
How are you feeling about it?
I don't know. I almost wonder if we should keep sliding him down the list.
Oh, you like him?
I think I like the Dachora better.
Interesting.
Duck Hunt Dog again, like, has a life, a purpose, presumably outside of your hunting with him, but like he is just doing that workhorse thing, right? Like there's no development. He's doing the thing he was trained to do.
I guess, and maybe this is unfair to the Dachora, but I think of the Dachora as like a chicken, like a little mindless.
Okay.
Like almost like Hey Hey from Moana.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
compare it to another Disney character.
Like,
the
Dachora, like, is a companion and is around, but like it doesn't feel like it's emotionally necessarily like bonded
Yeah.
to you in any way.
I mean, in that way, companion is almost the most appropriate word for it, though, right? Like, it's not Samus's pet.
Right.
It is an animal that is with her on her adventure.
Yeah. That chooses to stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes because
reason.
the planet is escaping and you're the only flight out of there, but whatever.
Okay. All right. So, since I don't feel that strongly about it, and you would like to put Dachora above Duck Hunt Dog, I think that's totally fair.
Okay, so we're putting the Duck Hunt Dog just above Wolf Link and below the Dachora.
I think so.
Okay. Let's bring the Pikachu out here. Is it time? Are we good to to do this?
I think we've got it.
Okay.
Right. So Pikachu, I will say
Pikachu versus Epona is the first matchup here.
Ooh.
I know that Pikachu does grow and change with you, the player. It's so hard though, because I don't think of I think of Link's emotional journey. I don't think of the Pokemon player character. I can't have a hard time thinking of their emotional journey.
But think of I think that is true. But that is the criteria we've been using for all of this, so that's fair. But like Pikachu in especially like the anime, like they're like, him and Ash are like best friends. They've been through so much like together that I feel like Pikachu and I think the fact that Pikachu here is standing in for any Pokemon that you want to
cannot stand in for all Pokemon.
But I think it kind of does.
Too many.
I think one of the things that makes him such a good companion and makes Pokemon such a good companion, there are so many, and you can have your like favorite, and it doesn't like there may not be a million people that like the keychain Pokemon, but it can be your favorite, and it can be like in the same way that here's what I'm gonna do. Pikachu lives in the same Hall of Fame.
Wow.
As
your Nintendo. I mean, that's as you were describing it, it was starting to feel the same way, where it's like I and maybe this is even what like my gut was pulling me towards before of like I don't think it can count as like a discrete animal partner because it is it's
such a personal connection,
yes.
right? Because like everyone's experience with Yoshi, Epona, Plessy, Dog from Super Mario Odyssey, the Dachora, like your relationship with, I feel like your relationship with all the rest of these that are on there are pretty universal.
Yes.
Whereas like Nintendogs, you can have a connection with like your dog. You can have a connection with like your favorite starter, your favorite Pokemon that won't line up with somebody else's experience.
Also, like just to your point about Ash's Pikachu and the anime, like that is a hard point to argue against. But it does like pull us into the realm of like other media and shows that have been running nonstop for 20 years, and it's like, well, I don't know. It feels like a different beast.
How do you argue against that emotional weight?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have 2 Hall of Fame entries.
Wow. Okay. Of the Cecil B. DeMario Awards. I really wish I remembered what that was. It was a good joke. Which means then we are down to our top 10. And we have to figure out where Yoshi fits. Now, this is the Yoshi from Super Mario World, a fine animal companion. And in the state that we are talking about right now, really only appears in the one game.
So pretend, and so I
but
think
what a showing! What a showing!
What a showing! But like, yeah, pretend we are living in a world where maybe that's the fairest way to do it. Like, pretend that we're living in a world where Yoshi was something that showed up in Super Mario World, and then we never saw again. Because the Yoshi that lives in our mind now in Smash Brothers, in the other Yoshi
tennis.
games,
he drives a go-kart.
It's not a companion anymore.
Right.
He's like a full-fledged character. And so with like occasional uses in other games like Galaxy 2, where he does just more play that role.
Well, so do we have to now apply the sort of axiom that we've done to so many of these characters of like, does Yoshi appear to have a life when not in sight of Mario? And in Super Mario World, you encounter them in eggs. But they've been trapped there by magic, right?
They're almost, yeah. And they are almost, in that way, like Rambi are on guard, where they're just in their crate waiting for you to come. And that's why, like, even just comparing it to the second one on our list currently, Epona. Again, I think that in Ocarina of Time, that like connection, the story of how you get Epona, the time travel element, all of it,
Yes.
like there is a connection there that does not exist in Super Mario World, and really
Right.
like between Mario and Yoshi at all ever. That's
One,
just not the relationship that they have.
and it's just sort of rare in video games, period, right? Like I'm trying to think of like the actual like connections to animal characters throughout video games, and like you and your horse in Shadow of the Colossus, like okay, like there's one, like and then Epona, and it's like what else is there? Like um these are like it's Epona's like a cream of the crop, like an A number one pick.
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill.
All right, just
Top of the heap. Okay, so I think we're saying Epona beats out Yoshi. Oh, all I was driving to is that if I think too much about Epona and her relationship with Link, that I'm gonna start to cry.
Yeah, me too. Let's move on. So I've already welled up a little bit before. So okay, so I think Epona beats Yoshi. So that brings us to Plessy. It's Yoshi is such an icon.
Yeah, but you're taking a lot of that iconism from Yoshi's appearances after Super Mario World.
Right. But I don't know that we. Well, yeah. I don't know that we need to divorce like Yoshi entirely from that, because I would be hard pressed to like rank Yoshi lower than the dog from Super Mario Odyssey. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree with that, but that does mean that I think we have a real question here in Yoshi as he appears in Super Mario World versus Plessy as he appears in Super Mario 3D World. Because they're arguably very similar, right? They're both these like dinosaur characters that you ride.
They're similar, but I give Yoshi the edge here, even in just like utility. I have not played Bowser's Fury yet, so it sounds like you have more agency with Plessy there. But like in the rest of the levels of Super Mario World, they're
they're special Plessy levels.
Yeah, you don't really have a lot of control over Plessy. Like you can choose like when he jumps or when they jump or when they go left or right. But it's not like you're doing a lot of platforming with it. Whereas like Yoshi is like empowers you so much more, and it increases the things that you can do in Super Mario World.
Okay, so counterpoint to that, at no point in Super Mario 3D World are you ever tempted to abandon Plessy to his death so you can reach a higher plane.
A noble sacrifice that true companions understand, I think.
All right. I think there's also just it is so hard, and I keep trying to, but I don't know that I'm effectively doing it, to separate the Yoshi as we see him in that game from just like who we know Yoshi to be.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. Like we can try to be as academic as possible, but there is still that emotional part where I'm like 8 years old, whatever, and seeing Yoshi in Super Mario World for the first time and just like unimaginably cool.
Yeah, you're riding a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what else, and he's wearing boots and a saddle. Like I don't know what else to tell you. So I suspect this is our list, Mark.
I think so, and I feel good about it.
So do I. Let's take a read from the bottom. Coming in at number 10 from Donkey Kong Country, On Guard, the Swordfish.
Followed closely at number 9 by Rambi from Donkey Kong Country.
Then at number 8, we've got Polterpup from Luigi's Mansion 3.
And at number 7, Wolf Link from Twilight Princess.
And coming in at number 6 is the Duck Hunt Dog, even though he's a jerk.
Coming in at number 5 is the Dachora from Super Metroid.
Mark, I just want you to know I'm proud of you. Coming in at number 4 is the dog from Super Mario Odyssey.
Just because it's just pure joy.
Pure joy.
Number 3 is Plessy from the Super Mario series.
Coming in at number 2 is Yoshi, sort of as he appears in Super Mario World, but let's be honest, as he appears in everything.
And number 1, Epona from the Legend of Zelda series, specifically Ocarina of Time, which talking about tonight has almost brought Patrick and I to tears, each independently.
And then, of course, special mention needs to be made of the players Nintendog and Cats and Pikachu from Pokemon as recipients of a Lifetime Achievement Award, the name of which we cannot quite remember. All right, Mark, this is a great list. I think we did a wonderful job. Let's close this segment out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. I think we made a pretty good definitive list. We're both still friends. We're still friends, right?
Yes, I promised
great.
we would be.
Very good. I'm holding you to that promise. But if you think we messed anything up, you can always write into us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
But we didn't. It's definitive. Remember, you can rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts if you like the episode. You should share it on Facebook or Twitter or with any animal lovers in your life, especially if they like, dinosaurs and weird alien animals, which is a lot of this list. They're mostly dogs.
That feels inevitable to me.
Yeah, that feels inevitable to me too. Gonna keep outroing us out of the show. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers reminding you to have your dogs and cats spayed and neutered and saying thank you for listening.
My name is Will Hines, and I am a ghostwriter, meaning I write other people's books for them. And I have a podcast called I Will Write Your Book, which are recordings of my meetings with my eccentric clients, such as a woman blocked after one sentence of a children's book about her dogs, a romance novelist who dislikes sex, and a man proud of having sampled everything in his local grocery store. This podcast has been described as fully improvised, played by some of the best comedians on the planet Earth. Hey, that's pretty good. That's I Will Write Your Book on Campfire Media.
Campfire.